Thanks for staying with us here on The Real Story. There's now less than a month left in the 2024 legislative session. The May 8th adjournment deadline is quickly approaching, and there are more than 600 bills still waiting for action. Lawmakers are hoping to get as much done as possible in their floor sessions, but first, some pretty big budget decisions had to be made. Let's break it all down. During last year's session, the legislature passed a $51.1 billion budget, $25.1 billion for this fiscal year and $26 billion for 2024-2025. With a biennial system, lawmakers came into this current session with the budget largely set, but the pleas for more funding, more tax cuts followed them. As of the last few weeks, legislative leadership from both parties decided there wouldn't be any formal adjustments. That $26 billion budget for the upcoming fiscal year is what they say they'll work with, but core programs from the state's nonprofits to higher education say there's too much at stake to not get more funding allocated. In our conversations with lawmakers, they've made it clear they don't want to wrap up this session without getting money to nonprofits and higher education. That's where federal funding comes into play. There are more American Rescue Plan Act funds than the state even expected. In February, they estimated about $56 million, but now officials say there's roughly $200 million available, and those dollars need to be spent. But it's not enough to solve the budget battle. Lawmakers want to add $300 to $400 million for the upcoming fiscal year. So those pandemic relief funds from Congress wouldn't cover it all. And Governor Lamont says he won't sign a budget bill that flexes the fiscal guardrails at all. The budget boundaries have made a difference in states' financials. Deep in deficits, Connecticut was in a year after year fiscal crisis. But in 2017, the bipartisan budget included those so-called fiscal guardrails, a spending cap, a revenue cap, and a volatility cap. Since the state's strict adherence to those, they've contributed to paying down more than $7 billion in pension debt. And now the rainy day fund, what many lawmakers said was a pipe dream not that long ago, is expected to reach $4 billion by fall. But with Connecticut in a better place, there is talk of revising those fiscal guardrails to make the tight belt on the state budget a little bit looser. For now, it's very much about being creative at the state capitol. Lawmakers are working on a puzzle, trying to move spending around to make everything work without any more money, because as we've gone over, they say that's off the table. Governor Lamont is warning legislators throughout this process not to rob Peter to pay Paul. There was a chance the federal funds, along with some of the built-in budget spending, could add up to just enough for campuses, social services, and healthcare. But there's a new problem. Several large holes hadn't been identified until now, meaning that $300 million operating surplus built into the budget could quickly become a deficit. To meet mandatory contribution levels, pension and other retirement programs need another $156 million, and state agencies have now reported more than $310 million in gross overspending this fiscal year, much of that because of Medicaid-funded programs. Plus, sales tax receipts have fallen way below what they expected as inflation drops. This year's collection already $225 million below what the next budget anticipated. So there goes the budget, and Governor Lamont says he will not sign a plan which doesn't fix these gaps. Again, less than a month left until the session adjourns on May 8th, and we've got all your close, continuous coverage of the hundreds of potential new laws here on air and online. You can head to fox61.com or download the free Fox 61 app and watch The Real Story every Sunday at 10 a.m. right here on Fox 61 and streaming on Fox 61 Plus. Have a great rest of your morning.